Hey everybody, welcome. Welcome to this really exciting fireside chat with two powerhouse companies of the US renewables business who also happen to be pretty active in the energy storage business. With me today are Laura Beane, Chief Renewables Officer of ENGIE North America, and Susan Nickey, Managing Director at Hannon Armstrong. Hey ladies, how's it going?
Hi there.
Great to be here with both of you.
You too. So let's get started right away. Let's see. We're talking about today what kind of future that renewables and storage look like. What's changing in how we go about doing our business? Who's participating in that business? And lastly, we get to talk about the elections, which is quite interesting this month. What are your thoughts on the impact of the President-elect President-elect Biden's win, the undecided Senate majority, and how you think all of this is going to play out? You ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
All right. So first question, what does the future of renewables and energy storage in the U.S. look like? And how are your organizations working to prepare for it? Laura, we'll start with you.
Great. In 2 words, I would say phenomenal growth. That is what we see here. But in addition to just growth, what we see are customers demanding more. Many of them want 100% renewable energy, but not just a rec that they can point to saying they've purchased renewable energy. They want renewable energy that they can actually represent is serving their load directly. So we think this is going to require customized solutions, and storage, Kelly, is certainly a very important part of the solution. I don't need to tell any of you here just how competitive the market is in the US. And at ENGIE, we are really beginning to look across the entire business and determine how can we bring all of the different capabilities of our business together in a way that will help us to create unique and truly customized solutions for customers. One example, we have a full distributed renewables business, and this allows us to be close to the customer. In many instances, we are on their rooftop, for example, and we are really working to incorporate distributed and grid scale and storage into comprehensive customer offerings. With regard to storage, and specifically, we are so excited about what we see coming on this front. Just intuitively, I think for many years, everybody has just known that it's going to come, and it has to come. It just makes so much sense to pair storage with non-dispatchable generation. And we at ENGIE believe we have some very unique capabilities here. Things that really differentiate us. We've got really skilled and experienced team members in the software area, in the hardware area, and in the asset management area. And we are just now really bringing these all together in a comprehensive solution package for our customers that we're really excited about.
Cool. So customized, efficient, and close to customers. Awesome. Susan, how about you? What does the future of renewables look like for Hannon Armstrong?
Hannon has an interesting perspective and is a financial investor, but is a financial investor who continues to invest across the spectrum of utility scale, distributed storage. And we see, again, confirming what Laura says, an acceleration in the penetration of renewable energy and storage, not only on the big utility scale side, but on the distributed side. This being driven by the great acceleration of driving costs down. Wind and solar are now becoming the lowest, if not the lowest cost of energy, and storage is fastly following that curve. And we think what's really exciting too is, as I think ENGIE's former CEO coined, this is the 3D trend of decarbonization, decentralization, and very importantly, digitalization is going to be the future and driving the golden age of clean energy. And that's like, we can't overemphasize that now the customers, the end users, have the ability to make the choices, drive the choices, not just be the recipient of electrons from a utility. And that's really changing the whole dynamic and accelerating this transition.
Now, Susan, the role of finance in decarbonizing our economy is just so incredibly important. And you all have been there for a really long time doing this. And so appreciated your role in accelerating this market. So the next question is really about an approach to decarbonizing the market. You know, it's going to take really new and diverse perspectives. And this year, I think we've elevated the importance of diversity, equity, and inclusion in the renewable sector and across our entire, society, frankly. So I wanted to talk to you, both you ladies, to first look back into your own careers and talk a little bit about whether you think being a woman in the energy industry has been a challenge or an advantage in your career along the way, and why. Let's start with you, Susan.
For me, I believe it's been an advantage. As a woman, and similar to other women in general, I think we're passionate and caring and have different qualities or styles to bring to business. And from the time I was a child, I wanted to pursue a career where I could make a difference. And I was fortunate to be in the right place at the right time, just as the renewable energy and independent energy industry was taking off back in the late 80s, and become one of the first professional financial investors in renewable energy. And to me, I saw the opportunity then that we needed to have renewable energy succeed, not just be alternative naysayers saying renewable energy can only be a small percentage of our power sector back in those days, to helping drive that is in my career over the last few decades, to continue to bring low-cost competitive capital to make renewable energy mainstream. And look where it is today, and look where we're taking it to, goals of 100% renewable energy. And that has to be because it's economic. And capital, as you've said up front, Hannon Armstrong invests over $1 billion a year in capital into renewable energy projects. When your resource is free, bringing more capital and driving down the cost of the capital, we think is is a very important driver, maybe even more so than the technology solutions are there or increasingly there. So I think that passion, I believe if you're passionate, you can be, that helps drive success. And so it's great to see more women, more diversity in the industry, because I think they'll have the opportunity to make a huge impact. Cool.
Laura, how about you? Challenge or advantage?
Throughout my career, and I've been in this industry now over 25 years, I certainly never felt that being a woman held me back in any way. But honestly, it was never even something I thought about or something that even crossed my mind. I always felt that hard work and delivering on objectives was rewarded, and I was given new opportunities for growth and career development. But when I was put into the CEO role for the first time several years back, that was really the first time that I felt that my being a woman was noticed. And at times it was honestly an advantage to me, I felt, in that it seemed like my gender might have been a contributing factor when I was offered a speaking opportunity or a leadership position, like a committee chair or a board role or something. But with this, I felt really came a serious responsibility. I began to feel a real obligation to do my part, to mentor and to seek out on important issues that were affecting women throughout the industry and the globe. And after the George Floyd murder, like so many companies, ENGIE employees were speaking out. They were really wanting to understand what ENGIE stood for. And I had always personally embraced the philosophy of inclusion. I worked really hard to create a cohesive culture amongst my team members. But I really started to feel like more was required. And I have taken an active role in ENGIE's external statements and activities on this topic. I'm the chair of a newly created diversity and inclusion committee at ENGIE. And I genuinely believe that an ongoing commitment to meaningful change through actions and measurable improvements, this is going to be a requirement for a truly inclusive culture and genuinely high-performing teams. So it's something I feel very strongly about, and it's something that I'm really committed to, and just grateful to have an opportunity to have a voice in this important topic.
I love that both of you women who are so powerful in this industry find that it is actually an advantage or not a matter at all. I think that's part of what helps propel people towards leadership is, not dwelling on what may or may not be perceived by others, but really sort of having a vision and moving forward. I think that's what creates leaders, whether they're men or women, and you all have that in spades. And Laura, I really appreciate also your sharing a little bit about what you're doing as a woman leader in this sector, like what you think we should all maybe be doing to use our leadership positions to promote diversity, equity, inclusion, and fairness. Susan, do you want to add to anything to that?
Yeah, it's really exciting to see now that we have more women and more diverse leadership finally at the CEO level, at board levels, investment fund managers, that we can now have data, and data is so powerful. Facts are powerful. So when we see that companies that have diverse boards, diverse leadership, fund managers that have, again, diversity, have women on the board, are driving those investment decisions, are actually outperforming and producing better results in profitability, the success of the companies, which also goes back to companies are successful because of everyone in a company pulling their weight. I think that's really exciting to see, and should propel even more change, as we've seen California as a first mover, not only in clean energy, but in requiring diversity on boards and saying we're doing this not like the old sort of soft ESG, which is great, but because just like investing on the right side of climate change, having leadership and diversity is going to produce the right risk adjusted and better results. So I think that's very exciting to see on a macro level. And then just on the day-to-day tactical level, I know Kelly, Laura, we're all on boards of and active in the industry associations. You've got the energy storage, ACPA, we'll talk about OEA, ACOR. It's been over the conscientious effort with diversity committees is important and makes a difference to start looking at up and down the ranks, how to create pipelines at committee levels in companies and at the board level, and help overcome sometimes just unconscious bias and old networks.
Yeah.
So just making that, voicing that, making that visible just day in and day out is important, and we can all have a leadership role now, given our participation not only in our own companies but more broadly in the industry.
This is going to be fun.
I wholeheartedly agree, and I think that's the best part of this.
Yeah.
Is the data has demonstrated it actually is good for business, and so it's just, to me, it's so easy. It's just such a given, and that's really an excellent part of it. So
yeah. This is going to be a lot of fun in the next 4 years. So speaking of the next 4 years, how about those elections, huh? All right, what do y'all think? What do y'all think about the results of the election? How's it going to play out over the next 4 years and even the next decade? We have a president-elect Biden and the very first woman and minority vice president-elect. We're still waiting for the results of the Senate, but we've got about a minute left. So let's start with you, Laura. What do you think? How's this going to play out?
Yeah, I think clearly what happens in Georgia is important and will really determine if a big legislative agenda that Biden administration had announced previously could move forward. But one thing that I think is really important to remember is renewable energy has absolutely thrived under both Democratic and Republican administrations. And that is amazing and unique, and it's something that I am so proud of, and it just really gives me great comfort that regardless of the outcome of these things, we know our industry is here to stay, and there's a tremendous amount of momentum.
Record growth in the last 4 years or so. So really it is about business, it's about making sense of things, and it's about moving the future of our energy industry forward. Susan.
Yeah, no, obviously having President Biden now elected and with Kamala Harris as the vice president is important to accelerating. How fast can we accelerate the growth and the shift to decarbonization. So the momentum was going to continue, but now is how fast and how in so many different ways there's policies both at the federal level. The states will continue to push. But I think it's interesting with the immediate, hopefully, leadership of re-engaging on the Paris Climate Accord, executive orders that can undo some of the environmental setbacks we've had, even right away, will be important. But I think even as I do read the Wall Street Journal, it was exciting to see that there is optimism in accelerating the shift, even with the possible Republican-controlled legislation, because obviously the campaign won on major legislation and investment in this Build Back Better, and the capital markets too are signaling, gee, we want policies that'll let us unleash all this capital and invest in the industry, drive jobs, and we're shifting anyway from fossil fuels. So let's make it happen so we can do it faster.
Thanks, Susan. Thanks for your input. And Laura, thank you so much for being here also. Ladies, this has been a real joy to hang out with you a little bit today. And next we'll take some questions from the audience. I'm really excited to share the screen with you today. Thanks for being here. Hi, ladies. How are you doing? So let's go to the audience for some questions and answers. We have about 5 minutes left in the session, and so I'll just get right to it. The first question is from Ben Cross. Do you see integrated energy systems as the future of energy? We'll start with you, Susan.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's just fascinating to see how technology is progressing so fast, thanks to companies like ENGIE that Laura can speak to as well, where we're looking at solar and storage, solar wind storage on the distributed side, combination of energy efficiency, solar, EV charging. So it's really exciting, and the leading engineering companies are making it happen.
Laura, how about you?
I don't disagree with that at all. I subscribe to all of the above when it comes to what technologies do we need. I think we really ought to be open, and we need to be inviting all different types of innovation to help us meet our clean energy goals. And there's a lot of exciting technology on the forefront. So I think the best is still yet to come. Absolutely.
I mean, when you think about demand response, for example, even within that, and energy efficiency in buildings, pulling all that in, it's lovely to be in the energy storage business right now, as I am, because it sort of integrates all of these pieces and parts. And so I definitely am a believer with you two that this is going to be the future of energy. Here's a really fun question. If you could give Joe Biden one piece of advice when it comes to the energy transition, what would that be? We'll start with you, Laura.
I feel like I've just seen so much written, even in recent weeks, about just how many members of our clean energy team are out of work still. I mean, this pandemic, even though you see a lot of really positive things about renewable energy plowing forward and everything's, going well, but there are a lot of people that are really struggling in our industry that have not been able to get back to work. So I think that really needs to be the immediate focus.
Absolutely. In what we hope will be the next relief bill, or even moving into the stimulus bill, including finally clean energy in that. Susan, what would you give to Joe Biden as your singular piece of advice for him?
We need to move quickly and adopt a carbon policy, and ideally even a policy that like a carbon price and dividend that immediately could address all the things. First, we've got to create jobs. So the capital markets have a lot of capital to put into this sector and want to. So let's give them a signal to invest, create jobs, address climate, and with the dividend, put cash right back in the pockets immediately of those who are so hurting because of the COVID-induced recession.
That's a good one. Okay, next question. Let's see. Do you think we can, no. Yes, this is the next question. Do you think we can have a successful energy transition without diversity and equity at its center? Susan, you want to go first?
Sure. We certainly won't be as successful as we need to be or can be. The data shows that not only is that the right thing to do, the just thing to do, but we're going to end up with a much more successful outcome when we are inclusive, have diversity in decision-making, leadership, and bring everyone in to address climate and all the issues we have in front of us. So let's bring it on.
Laura.
I was actually just talking about this with some of my team members yesterday, and it's my favorite thing about sponsoring some of these DE&I initiatives is it's so easy because it actually is genuinely better for business, and the data shows it, as Susan was saying. And I know we've all seen it even in our own little projects that we're doing. The more perspectives that you bring in, the more that you incorporate, the improved product comes out the other side. So to me, it's just a no-brainer and it's a win-win.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you think about, if we don't diversify the people around the table in making our decisions for us about what this grid is going to look like, we're going to end up with the same answers, and we're not going to get a different grid that way. And so to me, it just seems kind of common sense that we need to put different people at the table than what have been there before in order to get a different outcome. So totally agree with you, ladies, as usual, and unsurprisingly on all the questions that have come in so far. So thank you so much for joining us. Thanks to Reuters for including us in your program. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Kelly. Laura, always. And
so we'll sign off.
Thanks, Kelly. Thanks, Laura, and thanks, Susan, as well. A brilliant discussion. Really, really great. Next, I'd like to pass over to Emily Reichard, who will chair a discussion between Dave Laura and Mayor Turner and look at the kind of future of cities and of Houston specifically through the energy transition. So without further ado, Emily, over to you.